make make sure the recording gets started before we start the program. All right, so we will now officially, excuse me, officially get started. I'd like to welcome you to the virtual Pasadena Senior Center and our new monthly Cynthia Rosedale Memorial Sports Talk series, Ask the Athletes. I am Annie Lasky, the Director of Events at the Pasadena Senior Center, and I've had the privilege and pleasure of managing the Pasadena Senior Games since I came on board at the center in 2017. The Pasadena Senior Center, for those of you who are not familiar with us, we are a donor-supported nonprofit organization that offers social services, physical fitness, and arts and culture programming to older adults. We, all of us, so appreciate the support of everyone who has continued to log in and be with us and to donate, especially in these difficult times when our facility remains closed and we work to engage our community online. Today's program is named in honor of one of the senior centers and the Senior Games' staunchest supporters, whose legacy continues to fund our programs. Cynthia Rosedale, for those of you who didn't have the honor of knowing her, I actually never did get to meet her. She was a longtime director of events at the Pasadena Senior Center, a tireless advocate for senior wellness. She first brought the Pasadena Senior Games to the center in 1994, when these athletic competitions for older adults were just beginning to spread across the nation. While we're still limited in what we can safely do in person, we celebrate Cynthia's power and vision by connecting virtually. Ask the Athletes, this is a new monthly program co-presented by the California Senior Games Association with assistance from the San Diego Senior Games. We have sessions scheduled on second Mondays all the way through to December, whether we reopen the world or not. On March 8th, we're going to be talking about swimming, and it's a pretty amazing lineup we've got there with Olympians and champions and just really great people. And then April 12th, we will be featuring cycling. We hope you'll join us for those too, whether you do those sports or not. Just really fun and interesting people. Now to the program at hand. During the presentation, audience microphones will be muted, but you are welcome to put your questions and observations using the chat. We should be able to have a chance to unmute microphones at the end during the Q&A, but we do prefer that you add your questions during chat, and you may do that throughout the presentation. Lastly, if any of you have problems with reception, the recording of this program will be posted later on the California Senior Games Association website, californiaseniorgames.org. It is now my privilege to introduce the moderator of today's program, Ann Warner-Cribbs. She is the chair of the California Senior Games Association, the head of the Bay Area Senior Games and the Encore Games, and really one of the all-around most amazing people I've ever had the privilege to meet. So here I'm going to spotlight Ann Cribbs to start the program.
Thank you, Annie. Am I unmuted now?
Yes, you are, but hold on just
Okay,
one
good.
second. Let me just finish the housekeeping here. And there, now unmute yourself.
Okay, I am now unmuted and ready to go. I'm giving you back the admit responsibility because I can't do two things at one time. So anyhow, welcome everybody. I'm excited to do this pickleball panel. We've got a great bunch of guests. I would say last month, I was told by one of the people who called in that we had the royalty of track and field. This month, we have the royalty of pickleball, and I'm so excited to hear from all of them. So as Annie said, I am the chair of the California Senior Games Association. We have 8 regional games throughout the state. When we have games, we had no games last year because of COVID, but we have athletes ready to go. We have about 14,000 athletes on our mailing list and adding new ones as they get to be 50 years old. I'm happy to say too that I want to acknowledge a couple of people from our board of directors. Lee Galton is on the phone or on the Zoom, and John Giesling also. And then welcome Becky Sewell, who is representing the National Senior Games Association Association. We really appreciate your being here. They are responsible for all the senior games in the state, in the country of the United States, and the National Senior Games are now scheduled for May 2022, and they do expect a large contingent of pickleball players. So anyhow, it's great to see all of your names, and I think we're going to have a great panel. So I'm going to just ask a couple of questions of the panelists, and kind of keep everything moving. I'd like to start with Jennifer LaCour, who is in the Pickleball Hall of Fame. And the first question that I'm going to put to the panelists is just tell us a little bit about yourself, about your love for pickleball, maybe how you got started. And if you can weave in a little bit of pickleball history, that would be great, because as an aside, when I first learned about pickleball, it was probably 8 years ago. Somebody called me and said, can you put pickleball in the Bay Area Senior Games? And I said, what in the world is that? And it has a crazy name. You'd have to change the name of pickleball, because who would ever play that? And so quite quickly, I was told that the name wouldn't be changed, first of all. Second of all, they had, I thought it would be great to have it be in the senior games. So I thought, well, who could run pickleball? And so through a cyclist that's actually incredibly competent and a national championship, Barbara Jekyll, she introduced me to Steve Sutton, our panelist. And so I consider Steve to be the father of the pickleball part of the Bay Area Senior Games. He's the one that kind of led me through the whole thing and helped me find the courts and all of that. And the rest, as we say, is history. So I'm so happy that I twisted his arm and he could join the panel. So Jennifer, after that, let's hear from you. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you. And thank you. Can you all hear me good?
Good.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you all for logging in, because as Annie shared, that your panel, all of us absolutely love pickleball. We think it's the greatest thing ever. And so we're glad that you kind of tuned in and learned a little bit more about it, and we can entertain you for this hour. So I actually didn't start pickleball till my mid 40s, and come from a little bit of tennis background, and just started playing. And I was introduced to pickleball by my parents, who my mother, Beverly Youngren, was one of the first ambassadors, along with Pat Carroll, who's also on your panel. So isn't that cool? So I was looking, 2005 was the first that the USA Pickleball had their ambassadors. And so Pat was on there with my mom and one other person, and they kind of were the first official ones. So for years, I would hear my parents talk about pickleball, and it does kind of a silly name, right? And so then I was like, what is this pickleball? And so quickly tried it, loved it, and playing it, promoting it, talking about it ever since. So quickly, when I entered, was pretty successful in it. And, of course, always when you're winning things, are like, wow, this is really fun. But different all ages are playing, right? And so I got inducted into the Pickleball Hall of Fame in 2019. That on the history part, my mom, who I shared, has been involved since the late 1990s. And of course, pickleball has been around for 55 years. So a lot of you might think, oh, this is so new, but been around. Started Bainbridge Island, Seattle, is where the family was in the sport was invented, and here we are today. So with kind of the history and connection of the pioneers, my mom and I captured a lot of those stories of people that were there, and how the and then that's how we got together. We wrote the first history book, the history of pickleball, more than 50 years of fun. So that was a really fun adventure. And so I really love hearing history and everybody's experiences and memories on that. So
Well,
There's a
that's
million.
Jennifer, that is just a great story. And the thing that I have come to love about pickleball is the fact that you guys are such great ambassadors. You were so friendly, so welcoming, so inclusive. It's no wonder that you're growing like gangbusters. So thanks for your part in it.
Yeah.
Let's go now to Pat, who has been part of pickleball for a very long time. Pat, tell us a little bit about you and pickleball.
Well, thank you a lot for having me, and I appreciate. I wish I could see everybody's face that's on this Zoom. Whoever you are, I'm so happy you're here. I'm so excited for you that you have found this beautiful game. One of the things people tell me all the time is the people who play pickleball are so great, and I have a theory about that. No one who takes themselves too seriously would play a game called pickleball. So
That's great.
it's only the nice ones. It's only the nice ones that are left. Yeah, I found this game when I was in my early 60s. I had been on the national tennis circuit up to, for years. I was a 5'5" tennis player and thought I had really found my niche. And then I was playing a national tournament in tennis over in Seattle, Washington, the national indoor. And I was winning, but I was playing someone who, if she smiled, she'd have broken her face. And so I was thinking about how this was not a very fun thing I was doing. And I had just learned about pickleball and played it. And when I played pickleball, I couldn't stop smiling. So I kind of decided at that moment to dedicate my time and my energy to the growth of pickleball. And it was the best decision I ever made. And please don't hear me criticizing tennis. I just have a tendency to find fun and funny in everything I say. So no, I love tennis and it served me well. But if you're a tennis player and you have a concern about it conflicting with your tennis skills, I was ranked at 33 in the nation when I found pickleball, but my ranking was in tennis. After 1 year of playing pickleball 4 times a week, my tennis ranking went up to 25.
Wow.
Pickleball made me smarter and it made me quicker. So that's my intro. And I look forward to talking to you some more about some of the fun things about pickleball.
That's great. That is definitely a real selling point too. And so now I'd like to move on to the guy that I consider brought pickleball to the Bay Area Senior Games. So Steve, thanks for being here. And I love the courts in your background.
Oh, thank you. And I'm glad everybody joined the call this evening, and I'm excited to be here. And I guess my background is a little bit like Pat's, coming from tennis. When I was growing up in Montana, I lived in a little town of 8,000, and we didn't have tennis there anyway. We had the typical basketball, football, track, wrestling, all that, and even in some of the schools, rodeo. So it wasn't until I married my wife, Gloria, that she introduced me to tennis. And so we played that for many years. And in fact, up until 2015, when we were husband and wife Open Team of the Year that year. And that was our last year of tennis. And it was because the injuries were starting to get to me a little bit. I had a herniated disc in 2003 that kind of threw me for a loop. And then when we were on a trip out of town playing some tennis with some friends, they introduced us to the game of pickleball in 2011. And we thought, wow, that is really fun. And it's not near as much running around on the court and not near as hard on my joints and my shoulder. And so we waited and we came back the next year and played it again. And then we said, okay, we've got to go back to San Jose and find a group that's playing this so that we can join in. Well, we came back and we just could not find pickleball. There was one little group of ladies that wanted to prefer to remain a group of ladies. So I started a meetup group, and that grew very rapidly over time. And I ended up starting many locations all over the Bay. And it's now an organization called Bay Pickleball. But about a year after, but in fact, it was about 6 months after I started, I became an ambassador because I was determined to spread this game as far as I could. Because it's like the rest of you that got involved in pickleball. I mean, it's just addictive. It's so fun. You can't wait to get out there. And I've seen so many people's lives who are just transformed. When people get older, they tend to kind of isolate a little bit, which is kind of sad, but they kind of hold up in their homes and they don't tend to socialize as much. And I can't tell you how many people that are in their 70s and 80s have told me this really has saved me because now I get out there and I have a whole new group of friends and we have so much fun together, and I can't wait to get out of the house and every day and go meet up with my new friends. So that's one of the biggest things. It isn't just something that's important for your physical health to go out there and run around on the court. That's fun, and what a great way to get exercise. But I think the mental health part of pickleball sometimes gets overlooked. So I wanted to stress that. But
I'm really glad you did, Steve, because we have an experience here in Palo Alto. I happen to be on the Park and Recreation Commission as well as a commissioner. And well, I'm very proud to say that I helped Palo Alto convert a couple of tennis courts into pickleball courts. And so those 2 or 3 tennis courts got to be 12 or 14 pickleball courts. And so the other day we had a commission meeting and somebody wrote a letter to me and said, we know there's a lot of pickleball courts at Mitchell Park, but those players are just so loud. They're having a lot of fun. And of course, I'm delighted to hear that because, as you say, a lot of pickleball players are seniors, and it's really great to have them out, to have all of us out in the outside playing pickleball and being so, just really having so much fun. So the loudness is okay, right?
that's exactly right.
So let's go to George now. George, thanks for dealing with all your internet problems. I appreciate your determination and everything. And tell us a little bit about your time in pickleball and all of that. I know you run tournaments, and I should have mentioned that Steve told me today that he's running, what is it, the 3rd largest tournament in the country in a couple of months? Right?
Well, it's
Steve?
the West Regional Pickleball Tournament, yeah, and it's the largest region in the U.S. So next
That's
to the
amazing.
U.S. Open and the Nationals, it's the next largest one. So
Great.
yeah.
Okay, George, back to you. Okay, I think you might be on mute, George. Annie, can you help?
George, are you on mute?
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah.
now we can hear you. Perfect.
Yay! Hi,
Yay.
everybody. Okay, so I was guilty of playing pickleball way too long today. That's why I had internet issues.
Yes.
One
Out here in
more
Palm
game.
Desert, so beautiful today. Yeah, absolutely. And Jennifer and I spoke a little bit, and so she caught me as well. She says, "Wow, I can't even get a word in edgewise because you keep playing pickleball." But so what happened was, I was like many of you. I came from tennis. Tennis was so fun. Got to play in college, played USTA, and just had a great time. And I ended up working for John Letts as a coach in Arcadia, the home of the Desert Senior Games. So we donated the courts, if you will, a couple years ago for the Senior Games, and we had such an amazing turnout. I was really amazed at how fun it was for everybody. It was so social. We had all these little pop-ups where people were buying like shirts and skirts and everything like that, and people just loved the atmosphere. Coming from tennis, and Steve, Jennifer, and Pat, what it's like coming from tennis. We go play our tennis game, we want to beat them, and then we leave, right? Pretty much. It's not as social as pickleball. So being a coach there in Arcadia, at iTennis in Arcadia, I played with Christine McGrath tennis. And so we'd play doubles like every week and everything. And she goes, "Hey, let's play pickleball. Let's play pickleball." I go, "No way. That's an old person sport." And she would laugh. She goes, "Yeah, I would crush you at pickleball." So, we ended up not playing. But a year later, my boss said, "Hey, we got to get into pickleball. This is crazy how fun it is." So we did it. And oh my gosh, I've been hooked ever since. And guess what? I'm not playing tennis anymore. So it's been such a great whirlwind. The sport has been amazing. like you said, I met some amazing people throughout, like Terry Carter, who's a certified referee with USAPA, and she's been like shadowing me throughout my entire pickleball career. Mark Piper is now my mentor for referee. I'm a level 2 referee, so I get to referee some of the pro matches, all the rec games, and watch the feet, because all of you out there that are playing rec games, I guarantee you'll be stepping on that line once or twice. And so don't get mad at the referees if they call you on it. But after that, I became an ambassador. John Lepp said, "Hey, become an ambassador." I go, "What is that?" And he said, "You're growing your sport," because we put 11 permanent courts at our place. And he was so excited. People started coming. He goes, "You have to be an ambassador if you're growing the sport so fast." So I did. And guess today I get to work for Steve Sutton. He's my boss. I'm Assistant West Region Director for California, Hawaii. And we just love it. We're so excited about having the West Region tournament in Fountain Valley coming in September. And we're expecting so many people, so many smiling faces. And I hopefully, Steve, that you'll hear me on the microphone. So it'll be really fun having that honor to serve in that capacity.
Well, it's great to know. I am so excited having you all here that I feel like I should jump in the car and go over to Mitchell Park, Steve, and see if I could find a game.
Yeah.
Anyhow, it's really great. We've had a tough year, all of us, no matter how old you are, how young you are, what your position is in life. It's been a tough year. It's been hard on everybody. And so I know in Palo Alto and Santa Clara County, we have a very stern and strict, and probably rightly so, county health commissioner who deemed that everything in the county be closed. And so from March last year to sometime, I believe in August, everything was closed. Pickleball was closed, swim pools were closed, everything was closed. And so since then, things have been opened, and pickleball is allowed now one singles only, no doubles, and some other social distancing rules and all of that. So I would love for you to just go around and talk about sort of what you did when there was when there were no courts available. So when the courts were closed, to keep in shape, and what you're doing now, and if you really are just playing singles, or are there opportunities opening up now to play doubles? So Jennifer, let's start with you again.
All right. Well, when we were the beginning, when we were really closed down, so made my husband do a bunch of dinking with my portable net in the garage. So we would, play little fun games, how much we could do that, and just to stay active. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were like, you're.
Oh, you're good. I was going to say, is there a portable net that you can buy?
Yes, there's several of them out there.
So this is how I know pickleball has made it, that there's all this stuff now available to buy. But go ahead, that's great.
So, I mean, it kind of goes back to the roots of like how the game was invented, right? They would play in the driveway, and they had this portable net and kind of the backyard game. So with this pandemic, we've really went back to kind of the way the game started, and the sales and stuff of all the recreational paddles and nets were like sold out, all the big manufacturers. So it's quite interesting how with this, the troubling times, how our sport has really taken off, and so many more people have learned about it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're just like, although we were kind of bursting at the seams before, now it's just like, it's all over. So of course it makes us all happy, because we think everyone should, experience this fun and joy. But so anyway, but for me, I just basically, stay active, right? Keep moving, doing your walking, and just get out. Or then also now, because we can just do singles,
Mm-hmm.
so on the court, doing that, or, lots of little fun drills. And I've never been a big drill lover, but it makes a game out of it, and there's some points associated, a little competition. I can stay a little bit more mentally in it. So there's definitely things to do, but it is, you got to get yourself out the door, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you. Pat, what about you?
Well, I'm quite the creative problem solver. And when the COVID kicked in and we had to stay home, I have a ball machine, a ball throwing machine that throws pickleballs. I have a house with a long hallway from the front door to the back door, and it's about 44 feet from door to door. So I set up a little net. I put the ball machine at the front door and had it shoot balls to me over the net to me back at the back door. And I practiced pickleball in the house. Oh, we did have to move a lot of furniture around. So I have a saint who lives with me that was willing to do that. So I got my exercise that way. And I've done quite a bit of video teaching, and I've had students send videos of their play and analyzed and gave them some constructive criticism. And so that kept me a little bit out of trouble.
Good.
And
I love the picture of you in my head in your long hallway. That's great. Thanks for that, Steve. What are you doing with yourself?
I can't say that I'm quite as creative as Pat there, but actually I just started playing pickleball again about 3 weeks ago after a couple of years off because of that back injury, that herniated disc. And actually, Pat, you may not know this, but it was actually when I was playing Pat 2 years ago Christmas that I injured my back. It was so difficult trying to beat Pat and her partner that they ended up wrenching my back out. Of course, I'd been playing about 6 hours already that day. So, but anyway, during this time of COVID, my wife and I have tried to remain very active. We do a lot of isometric exercises. We do a lot of push-ups, pull-ups, planks, things like that. We can do that inside the house. And then we also do a lot of hiking. And that's one of our favorite things up in the mountains here around San Jose. And, you know, I guess you can always find something to do if you want to. And as far as pickleball now, I've been doing a fair amount of coaching in the last couple of weeks, just coaching people on the singles court there. So we'll be doing dinks, we'll be doing, you know, overheads, we'll be doing all kinds of different things that you can do when you just have one person on each side of the net. There's a lot of drills you can do. You can do third shots, you can all those kinds of things. So that's keeping us busy. And so far I haven't had a problem in you know, getting some exercise and so forth. Yeah, we'd all like to be out there playing doubles and going like crazy every day, but anyway, that's pretty much from my perspective.
Good, excellent. George, I see you put something in the chat about checking USA Pickleball places to play, right?
Absolutely. Somebody was asking about where to play in Pasadena area, and obviously we have a couple places there, but just check places to play everywhere. And all the ambassadors keep those sites up to date, and you can play anywhere. It gives exactly if you can play skinny singles or doubles or just family members or just where and who to contact. Great place, great app to use on your phone.
Well, that's great. And this leads us right into advice for both new and experienced pickleball players. So all of you and whoever wants to answer first or second, where do people go to find equipment? Where do people go to find ambassadors? How do people find out more about potential coaches and whatever else to spread the word about pickleball? Pat, let's start with you.
well, thank you. This is a great opportunity for me to plug my book.
Well, that was
You
what I
can
was
go
hoping that you
on
would
to-
all do. Look at that.
There she is.
Yeah, this is on Amazon. It's Pickleball, Less is More. And you can buy that book from me personally, except the book is free and the signature is $10. And on Amazon, they're just going to give you the book for $10.
Well, I think the signatures, given your history, I think the signature is probably pretty important. So that's great. Yeah. Jennifer, what about you?
Well, actually, I think on the whole where to find, that would be like the Steve and George, for sure. Why don't you
Yep.
two gentlemen roll with that?
Well, I'll go first, and then George, you can follow up because I know George does a
Okay,
lot of
thanks.
coaching there where he is too.
Yeah.
Gosh, there's online, there's so much information out there that people can go to. And in fact, usapickleball.org has so many different resources within that, looking up different ambassadors in their area and looking up places to play with other people. Um, so many people giving really good instruction online. Simone Jardine has some good stuff out there. Jordan Briones, Primetime Pickleball, lots of really good resources for you to watch stuff. And they're so clear and concise as to what they're teaching because they have an individual video about every little thing you do on the court. So that's a great way to learn. I don't know, anything else? George, jump in there.
Yeah, absolutely. Steve's exactly right. When you go connect with an ambassador in your area and look it up on usapickleball.org. And then if you go to places to play and you start socializing with everybody and see where they get lessons. I've had lessons from many pros. And I got to see Jennifer play in Melba down in San Diego last week. Amazing player. It's just about connecting with the right instructor. Make sure you have fun because everybody has a different technique on how to teach. As long as it's fun for you and it's engaging and it's fast, that's what the fun aspects I like about getting a lesson from somebody. So my girlfriend doubles partner and I, we take lessons from Dan Roditi down at Dana Point and many other pros, the Newmans. There's a lot of people that we've taken lessons from. They all have different techniques, but when it comes down to it, it's whatever works for you, how much you drill or not, even though you don't like it, Jennifer, drill and practice. But it's just about having fun and improving your skills. And
Right.
As far as the equipment stuff is concerned, it's like golf clubs. It's whatever feels good to you, so just try them all.
Right. And I'd like to add, so I know a lot of these panels might be players, but some of you might be logged in, like, checking it out. So if you haven't been to a pickleball venue, just know that when we talk about how the people are really friendly and, welcoming, it's completely true. So when you find something in your area or your neighborhood, show up and don't think that you have to have like the paddle and the ball, because people will let you use their paddle and ball and they'll show you what to do and, go over here, go over here. So it's very welcoming. So we always want people to feel like they can come, like you might hear the sport, right? And then you see it, but please come over because it's a quick learn and it's really fun. And then I was going to say, since Pat said her book, I have my little pickleball blog at allpickleball.com.
Good. So you can put that in the chat as well. I'm
Very
glad you said that about sharing equipment and all of that, because
Yeah.
that was my experience when I went over to see the Mitchell Park courts. And one of the guys who was helping us organize the tournament looked at me, put a paddle in my hand and a ball and put me on the court. And it was really fun,
Yeah, and I mean, it truly happens that way,
Yeah.
all across the United States. So it's not like, no, but it does, because like Pat said, it's such a unique name, such a unique game. And it's all about having fun and getting us out there and getting our exercise.
Well, I wanted to make sure that all these ambassadors, George, that you're talking about across the country are as enthusiastic and welcoming and friendly as all of you guys. So you have to say that that's absolutely true. And I actually think it is. On another side, and then I'm going to ask you another question to think about. High school sports have been cut back a lot and are going to be probably cut more after we get out of COVID. And so there's a coach and teacher at one of our local high schools who came to our commission meeting and talked about the value of pickleball for middle school and high school kids, how it was so easy to teach, so easy to learn, and so easy to play that it provided just a fabulous opportunity to get kids out and playing and all of that. And so I think that's something to note as well, is that it's really a sport kind of for all ages and all families. At least that's what I'm thinking about. So now my next question is, think about something that, like maybe your funnest experience in pickleball, or the most unique, or something crazy that happened to you playing pickleball, or something that you're really proud of. And Jennifer, I'm going to go back and start with you.
Wow. Let's see, because I've been playing years. I don't know if it's crazy, but I would say the memorable thing is me and my doubles partner, Alex Hamner, we won open women's doubles at nationals 4 years in a row.
Wow.
So I don't know if that's crazy, but
it's not crazy. It's incredible. Congratulations. That's
It's
great.
like anything, right? Like you do it, even if you do it once, you just like talk about it forever.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's very memorable. So that's a perfect one.
yeah, so
Steve, what about
go
you?
with that. Yeah.
Well, I have had the, I don't know if I call it an honor of being on the other side of the net from Jennifer. I don't know if you remember at the retreat, I ran the block and I was playing with Scott Moore, and I don't remember who you were playing with, but yes, she is a formidable opponent on the other side of the net. That's for sure. So I got to say, probably one of the most memorable experiences I've had in pickleball was something that Jennifer's had a lot of experience with. She spent a lot of time with Barney, but I spent Father's Day in 2017 with Barney and a lot of his relatives there, and got to know Barney pretty well, and got his feelings about the whole world of pickleball, and his surprise that it's turned into what it has, and got to play on all of the courts around there, the original court with my wife and son, and what an incredible day. That was one I'll never forget. So I know, Jennifer, you feel the same way about that. So.
Yeah, that's a good one. So Steve, he's talking about, there was 3 founders to our sport, right? And so Barney McCallum, he lived to 91, and he just passed away about a year ago.
Yep.
So a lot of us got to meet him. So to love a sport and then actually meet the founder is like in our book. So it was really special for our sport to have him around and then hear his memories. And of course, that's how the whole history got started. So we're lucky about that.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you. Thanks. It's really definitely fun to hear that.
And I wanted to say my favorite thing in pickleball, other than that one experience, is coaching and teaching new players. I get more thrills out of that than almost anything in pickleball. So.
Great. It's good. Pat?
Can you hear me?
We can hear you perfectly.
Well, actually, I played doubles with Jen's mother, Bev, for a couple of years when I first started competing in pickleball. And I remember the year we won the doubles in the Huntsman World Games. And then the singles came up, and we ended up both in the finals of the singles. And we played the longest singles match that they had at that tournament that year against each other. And that was real fun. I'm not going to tell you who won, because I don't think Bev has ever forgiven me. It was on her birthday. So the other thing is, on my 65th birthday, my friends and students got together and made this paddle for me. It's for Pat's, let's see, it says Pat's 65th Old Ladies Pickleball Paddle. And it has a power plug on the end to give me more power, since I was so old. So those are
oh my gosh, that's great.
Millions.
Millions of memories. Oh, that is fabulous. Thank you so much for that. George?
Yeah, I think my most favorite story about pickleball is when I was playing one day, and a gentleman came up. He was 92 years old, and he wanted to play, put his paddle down. And so we said, yeah, please play with us. So, I started to play a little bit soft because I didn't want to, like overpower him. But oh my gosh, he was overpowering us. And then I was dinking cross court with him, or I'm sorry, my partner was dinking cross court with him. And all of a sudden, the dink went really wide towards the fence, and he chased it down and hit around the post around the net post, really low to the ground, hit me in the knee. At 92 years old, I was like astounded. I took a picture of that day. He still plays every single day. His name's Jack from Tustin, just an amazing player. And, you know, every time I see him, I go, you know what, you're gonna have to give me points before we play.
Wow. Great. That is great. Great stories. Boy, you guys are really terrific. So I'm looking now at our clock, and we usually allow about 15 minutes for questions from the audience. And so Annie usually serves as the moderator for the questions. So I'm going to turn that over to you, Annie, that function. And then there's some good stuff in the chat. So while we're getting our stuff organized here, I'm seeing pickleball trips around the world to go play in various countries. And then that reminds me that I did hear something about someday the goal is for pickleball to get into the Olympic Games. So somebody talk a little bit about that. Jennifer, you've been on a couple of those trips, it looks like.
I have. Well, I've been lucky that because pickleball is all over the world, right? Have people all over the world are wanting to play, or people want to do a vacation in it, their pickleball in it. So on that chats with Tony, Thailand and Japan and Spain, and I've been over a lot of places, and I don't know if they're on my bucket list until pickleball came up. Like, oh, I get to go there and play pickleball. Yeah, that sounds good. But I think Steve, you probably have a good thing on the Olympics, maybe, or George.
Well, I can speak to how many countries there are right now. The International Pickleball Federation is now up to 33 at last count, and that's organizations in countries around the world. So this thing is happening really fast. And you know, I just had requests from two different companies. Vietnam and Israel both now are in talks, and I gave them the person to talk to help get that set up. But yeah, it's really going fast, and I can't help but think in 10 or 15 years this will be an Olympic sport.
Steve,
Exactly. There's different organizations that in our pickleball world that are, you know, making it happen, because you know obviously the checklist to become even a demonstration for the Olympic sport, right, is you got to do all these things. But it's very cool because there's a lot of people that want to make that happen. You take time, but as it grows over, like all these people, just like here, they find it and they're like, I got to play it. So it's awesome.
Well, it is looking like it. It's quite addicting. So I think we've got some questions to answer in the chat. Annie, it's all yours.
All right. Well, we'll start with the very first question that was posted from Jim is, what do you think of the new drop serve? He thinks it's going to be hard to judge.
Well, the drop serve can be hit anyway, as long as you just drop the ball, and when it bounces back up, you can hit that ball any way you want. You can slice it, chop it, you know, anything. So it's actually a lot less complicated to referee than the other serve, where you have to have certain things done exactly the right way. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but that's been my impression, that once that ball is bouncing back up, you can hit it any way you want. So
that's true. And I've been doing it both ways, and I'll tell you, there's advantages, disadvantages. It just makes it another element to having pickleball so fun to play. You know, I don't know if my opponents, they're starting to use it. I'm using it, and you don't know what's going to come off of their paddle. You know, we obviously are following the new provisional rule and making sure everybody can see our release and where the contact is. And when you drop the ball, you can hit it however you want. Once it hits the ground and comes back up, by just actually dropping it and not throwing it down, you can hit it however you want. So it makes it really fun.
So George, you said that that's provisional. Is there a time length on it before it's adopted, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, 1 year.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. Kirsten of San Diego Games, actually. Welcome, Kirsten. Glad you could join us. Has an interesting question of how many athletes has pickleball stolen from other sports?
We should substitute the word stolen.
All of them.
Loaded word. In other words, are you all still playing tennis? No, actually, it continues, is that, are the people mostly coming from tennis and racquetball, or are they coming from non-racket sports as well?
No, I could speak to that. I came from tennis, as I said. I was on chair umpire, ITA chair umpire, Cal, Stanford, Pac-12, up till a couple of years ago. And the head official at one of the biggest tennis tournaments in the world at Indian Wells every spring, Joan Bornbaum. And Joan, I hope you're listening in on this. But she said, when this thing gets cleared back up, this COVID thing, he said, you got to teach me how to play pickleball. So yeah, a lot of people are coming from a lot of sports, but a lot of tennis players, Division I college tennis players, and then people who are getting sore things like I had. They're thinking, I think I'll move on over. So it's a trend that's picking up speed for sure.
Right, right. Yeah, and Kirsten, that's a great question. I would say lots of sports, paddle or racket backgrounds, but as when you're playing, competing against these players that come from different sports, there are people that are successful that have had no or paddle background. And so playing against them is really challenging because you can't read that stroke, So it's kind of neat that you don't have to have this racket or paddle background to be successful in pickleball. So which means it truly is, a sport for everyone.
Yes.
Can I ask a little bit about the cost of pickleball? So the cost is a racket and the ball and special shoes.
Yeah, so the cost is amazing, because once you get that paddle, and the paddle can be anywhere from an inexpensive wood paddle all the way up to a couple $100 for one that's, I guess, gold plated. I've never spent that much. But once you get that paddle, unless you back over it with your car or something, you don't have to get it restrung every little bit like tennis. So it's a very
Good point.
expensive sport in that regard. And the balls are, roughly the same as tennis, but some of these balls last almost forever, and then there's other brands that don't last very long. So pick your balls, and it's very expensive sport otherwise.
Okay, next question.
Yes.
Now, does anybody else have a comment on equipment? We're
No,
good?
I think he summed it up well. It's very affordable. And again, you can show up at the court and borrow your friends, and I guess your friend probably has 3 paddles, and you could use that one for a while till you figure out which one you like. But $50 up, a ball is $2-3, and away you go.
There's another question, which is sort of how do you play pickle, quote unquote, normally in a time of COVID? So it's typically singles at this point instead of doubles, correct?
Yeah, or just family members. If you can get all your entire family, 4 or 6, and just rotate in, as long as they're within the same household, that seems to be very safe. Distancing from other people, and some other policies are that as long as you and your family member are on the other side of the net from another family unit, and they keep that separation. Sometimes they're using their own balls when they serve. There's a whole array of personal policies that people are using to try and stay safe.
Right.
And it does, as someone on the chat pointed out, it does, of course, change from region to region, depending upon what the protocols are in your own particular community. Let's see. Oh, and someone points out with the equipment that eye protection is good as well.
Yes, absolutely. We had a gentleman up in San Francisco area that got hit in the eye, and he couldn't see out of one eye for 2 months, and they thought he was going to go blind, but fortunately with some proper treatment, he was able to bring back his eyesight. So yeah, I don't play much pickleball at all without having either sunglasses on, or I use racquetball glasses when it's, getting a little darker out or something.
Right.
And playing indoors, because I really value my eyesight. And there are people, as you know, that really smack the ball hard, and they're bangers, as we call them, and I don't want to get hit in the eye. So there we go.
Right.
Okay, well, Annie, it looks like those are the sort of the end of the questions. What I'd like to do with our esteemed panel right now as we close this out, and I really think we should consider this the royalty of pickleball. I have learned so much, and it's been so really inspirational and fun to listen to all you guys love your sport. Let's just go around the circle and anything you'd like to impart to the audience, any last comments, any last thoughts. And Pat, let's start with you.
Thank you. And thanks so much for everyone who is with us today. Pickleball has changed my life. And I've watched it change lives for so many people. I am just so grateful that I found the game. I used to always work with new people because I enjoyed it so much. And in the 2008 thing, the economy thing, we lost our home and I had to find a job. Somebody said, why don't you teach pickleball? I said, and charge? They said, we would pay. So I started Pat's Picklosophy. And what I love about it is that I get to watch people from day one. I love to work with newcomers and see how it changes their lives. This is about so much more than a paddle and a wiffle ball. And I'm so, so grateful to be a part of that.
That is a great finish, Pat. Thank you so much. Very much. It's wonderful. I wish you were a little closer to where I am. I would come down and ask for a lesson or two. Steve, what about you?
Well, I guess my advice to people that start playing this game is don't ever take the game too seriously and don't take yourself too seriously out there. There are so many sports that we see out there that people do kind of take themselves, I think, a little too seriously and end up doing a lot of fighting and all. But man, the main thing about this sport is just have fun out there and leave every day from playing this game saying, I just had a blast today and I can't wait to come back and share that enthusiasm with other people. But that's my advice. Just really enjoy it. That's what this whole sport is about. Yeah, if you get to be at Jennifer's level, you'll definitely be serious when you're playing in a national title match. But I know Jennifer has a lot of fun when she plays this sport, and that's what I hope we all do, is just have a good time.
Oh, thank you, Steve. As usual, you're the best as the mentor of the Bay Area Senior Games. I appreciate that. You know how I really do. George, what about you? Advice for our audience?
As far as advice is concerned, I've met so many people of all walks of life through pickleball and some great friends that I would never have met otherwise. So just get out there and play and have fun. But if you could, all of our viewers, if you can encourage our kids to start playing pickleball, it's not as difficult as tennis and golf, which is very technical. The learning curve is really flatter, and it's so much fun and fast, and they can learn, they can meet up with friends, and really it's the future of our sport is to have our kids start playing pickleball. So that'd be a great help.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, Jennifer.
All right. Well, at first I want to thank all those people that I see that are still listening. So thank you so much for logging in, and both the Ann and Annie and the Cynthia and all the senior sinners. Because actually in pickleball, right, if we're 50 and over, we can be in the seniors. But thank you so much for tuning in, checking it out, and share with your friends, right, that this is for. It's all over the United States, all over the world. So when you travel, you can log on and say, oh, I wonder where they play pickleball here. And I'd love, follow when the world opens up again for more traveling. Well, definitely that's on my list to do. And you can follow that at my blog website, allpickleball.com. And we'll see you guys on the courts.
That's great. Well, I want to add my thanks to everybody. I've certainly enjoyed this session. Thanks to the Senior Center in Pasadena for hosting us. Annie, you do a great job technically and everything else. So I really appreciate that. And thanks to all the people who logged in to listen to this. And as I said, this will be posted, the recording, on the California Senior Games website. It'll be up probably tomorrow or the next day. And we'll send you a follow-up, all the visitors with that information. And then I'd like to do a quick commercial for our next session, which is the second Monday of March, which is the 8th of March. We're featuring a sport dear to my heart, which is swimming. And I twisted the arm of my good friend John Neighbor from Pasadena, who is an Olympic gold medalist and just a wonderful guy. He also does the Rose Bowl parade on ABC and has a lot of other awesome traits. So he will be part of the panel along with Daniela Barnea, who is a American record holder and probably a world record holder of the senior games, an amazing swimmer. I'm inspired by her and her love of swimming. And then another good friend of mine who helped me and worked with me when we ran the FINA World Masters Championship, which is the 5 aquatic sports: swimming, diving, water polo, synchronized swimming, and open water swimming at Stanford, and is a master swimmer himself. And so we're gonna do the water thing in March. And so you're all welcome to come back and join us and tell your friends. And in the meantime, continue your wonderful enthusiastic support of pickleball. Everybody out there, be well and safe. And
Well,
I'm sure you'll see each
I
other on the
wanna
pickleball court. Annie?
just a little, first of all, I've just allowed everybody to unmute themselves so that we can have a round of applause for our wonderful panelists. So if you feel like unmuting yourself so that everybody can cheer, and I'll also just, we'll have a few moments of goodbye time so you can scroll through the chat and read people's wonderful stories. And Ellen, yes, Pat answered you. She does, you can reach her over the internet for training. So there's some really fun stories in the chat. So thank you all for joining us. And I'm just going to claim George Avery as the Pasadena Senior Games tournament director when we are able to get back to play, which probably will not be until 2022. But George is such a great guy, and it's
Thank you, Annie.
It's lovely to see you, George.
You too, Annie. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Anne, for hosting. Thank you all for joining. And that'll do it for today.
Great. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Very informative.
All right. Thank you, Irene.
Thank you, Annie.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye. We'll see y'all next time.
Thank you.
Thank